I may sound crazy, but I've really been thinking about this Apple Watch unlocking the iPhone when you're wearing a mask thing, and the more I think about it, the more I realize the Apple Watch should truly be the key to unlocking your entire ecosystem. And this is one step closer to that, but I don't think it should just be whenever you're wearing a mask. I feel like this should be in more circumstances. Let's begin. Alright, so first of all, I'm realizing more often now that the ability to lock a device from your wrist should be more universal, okay? It should not just be a one-button option whenever you're wearing a mask and try to unlock your phone with Face ID, and if it doesn't work, then your Apple Watch unlocks it and you can tap lock iPhone from the watch. I feel like if you're in any circumstance, I mean, if we're getting all picky about, well, what happens if someone with a mask comes up to you and steals your phone and then unlocks it? First of all, we should acknowledge that there are probably more circumstances where people already have their phone unlocked and are using it, and then someone snatches it from them. I feel like that's almost more likely, and in that case, I think it would be a really awesome feature to be able to lock your device directly from the watch. Include it in Control Center if you want to. It doesn't have to be there by default if you think it's too confusing. Just let it be an option for those who want it, because I personally don't have people in my house that I don't want having access to certain devices, but in an event where I had a bigger family or there were annoying siblings, like I'm sure some of you have, comment down below the sibling you dislike the most. See if they'll find their comment in this video. But yeah, if there's someone in the house that wants to grab your device when you're not looking and unlock it and start using it, whether they know the passcode or not, or whether they came up to your iPad while it was still unlocked and start doing stuff, I would love it if no matter how many Apple devices you had, you could kind of have like a secure lockdown feature from the watch that just says, nope, require the password across everything, or require a specific code that you can generate on the watch. That way, even if someone does know the code on your iPhone or iPad, you can bypass that and lock it again with a new code, just to prevent either that annoying brother or sister from accessing your stuff, or on the opposite end of digital security, I also think that if you have a passcode on your watch, right, which you have to anyway to set up Apple Pay, and Apple knows that you're wearing the watch, right, it has wrist detection turned on, and you're in your home and you go up to a device, I don't care if it's your iPad, I don't care if it's your iPhone or your Mac, it should be able to automatically register. Maybe this will be made more possible with ultra-wideband chips, but if it knows that you're the authenticated user and you're very close to the device you're trying to use, it shouldn't need a password. In fact, it shouldn't need Touch ID or Face ID, and I feel like in the age of the pandemic, so many of us are at home all day, every day with the same people that we trust and are normally just hanging out using our devices, and yet we still have the same level of security that we do when we're out in public surrounded by strangers. I honestly think that we're going a little too overkill with unlocking the device every single time, making sure that we get an accurate Face ID scan or a super precise fingerprint reader scan, even though we have a logged in, connected, Bluetooth enabled, secure enclave device right on our wrist that is authorizing, yes, this is the user, they are intending to unlock this particular device. And like I said, if someone in the house is trying to access your device, maybe a robber breaks in, I'm not sure how common of a situation this is. If someone's breaking into your house and unlocking your iPhone, I feel like you have bigger problems than him seeing your most recent text messages or email. Maybe there's some robbers that love breaking into houses and then instantly going to your banking apps and transferring money to themselves, but I haven't heard of that. Even then, just the ability to, from the watch, lock everything again, I think would be an amazing feature. And if you don't have your Apple Watch on and it's on its charger or something because it's late at night, then yeah, go back to requiring all biometrics like we have it today. But when you're at home and you have Wi-Fi and everything, I think by detecting where these devices are, right, like in the Find My app, Apple knows where your iPad and Macs and iPhones are based on their connection to the internet, and you can locate them that way. You should be able to set up kind of a geofence that says this is home, okay? And when I'm at home, you don't need to register all 30,000 dot point matrix on my face every time you unlock, because it's me. There's probably not going to be other people here. I understand there might be a small percentage circumstance where it's not you in your own house, but I feel like 99.9% of the time, it's gonna be just the people at home that are in ownership of these devices, and allowing them to unlock so that you don't have to make sure that when you want to unlock your iPad and your finger is covering the Face ID sensor, it shouldn't matter, because my Apple Watch, which is unlocked and registered on my wrist right here, should be able to tell my iPad, hey, it's him, don't worry about it, just unlock. Same thing with the iPhone. You know, if you're in some circumstance where you're trying to unlock your iPhone and it's in landscape mode and Face ID is like, no, I can't unlock because I have to be in this orientation, or it's laying flat on a table and you tap it and it's not getting a good register on your face. Should it really matter when the watch is right here? It knows you're at home. If you leave that little geofenced home area, sure, it can like heighten security there and be like, okay, now we're going to require a full face authentication every time we unlock. And all I'm talking about today is options. I'm not in favor of forcing everybody with Apple devices on these new ideas. I'm just saying provide these as options to those who want them, because I'm probably a prime example of a lot of America right now, which is people all working from home, barely leaving the house, and yet still having these really, really high-end encrypted secure devices that want to do these extremely thorough security checks every time I open a device. And to me, it just feels really, really overkill when we have this key attached to our wrist. And I know that the main motivation here for the watch unlocking the phone thing is the masks, but I want it to go beyond that. You know, I want it to still be a thing that our watch can unlock all our different devices, even without masks, just for the sake of, okay, we know the user is here, we know they're authenticated, and we know there's not anybody else in this premises that is accessing the devices that aren't supposed to, because if they were, the user would get the notification on their watch, you know, iPad or iPhone unlocked, and they could very quickly just hit lock again if someone was accessing that wasn't supposed to. To me, this would save a whole heap of time, and frankly, I have run into so many issues with parents and grandparents who forget their passwords all the time. So I know this is a bit of a side tangent, but if we could fall back a bit more on biometrics for those kind of two-factor authentication methods, because nowadays passwords are requiring so many different characters and numbers and special phrasing, and you can't use your old password. And when you do that to older generations, they have a very, very hard time remembering their passwords. So if they could just default to Touch ID, or they could default to, okay, the user is wearing the watch, we know this is the authenticated individual, so we're just going to allow access to certain passwords or certain iCloud keychains, whatever, it would save a whole huge amount of headaches, because it's been a major, major issue I've ran into with a lot of different older demographics that are a bit harder at remembering all the different passwords they gotta come up with. So I think there's a huge revolution that the Apple Watch could be the spearhead for, and I would love to see it unlock more devices and Apple get smarter with when and when not to lock our devices in the first place. There's probably a lot of people that are living alone, all right? How silly is that if you're living by yourself, you know, no one else comes into your house or apartment, and yet every time you use your phone, it wants to make sure it's you? Even though it should know it's you. Come on. If it's not, just tap the watch, lock the device again. I may seem crazy, and I know there's probably some major cybersecurity breach I'm proposing right now, but for the most part, I think this would be very helpful. So I'm very curious to hear your guys' thoughts on it as well. Feel free to let me know. This is your Apple Sleep here. I'll see you guys in the next one.